where do you come from and how did you develop in terms of education before you actually took on your first professional position?
I think that the story is quite funny. It actually starts in Switzerland. We have I grew up in Switzerland in a Swiss mountain village, and in Switzerland we do have a mandatory military service. So actually I went to the army. I spent a year in the military, and I was really, really intrigued by seeing how people interact, how they overcome emotions, like, the variety of people's feelings. So for me, it was very clear I would study psychology as well as philosophy. And in philosophy also, I focused a lot on existential philosophy, like the questions of what is human life and the purpose behind it. And then during my psychology studies, I studied in Zurich, University of Zurich first, and later in exchange at National University of Singapore. I really got interested in biological applications of psychology, like neuroscience, but then also more specifically genetics and how this influences decision making. And actually, I did 4 different research projects during my bachelor's. And here maybe a quick advice to the audience. It's better to focus on one and do that one great than to do 4 things in parallel. But I was like doing 4 different research projects, all like from genetic research all the way to like psychological research, just following my passion for the human mind. And then after that, I did a quick break where I was working in Asia, Japan, Singapore, Thailand, you name it. And after that, I started my degree in UCL because honestly, I saw it online, I saw the degree, and I thought that my name was written on it because it was like cognitive and decision sciences. And that's like literally everything that has ever interested me. And so I took on that degree and never regretted it for a single day in my life. And it actually also, I would say, helped me a lot in my professional life. But Eva, maybe I can quickly give back to you before we move on to the professional part.
Thank you. I see from your LinkedIn profile that you actually have 2 master's degrees. So you have a master's of codes from codes 2017, and you continued on to do a second master's. Could you tell us a little bit about your motivation?
So it was not a second master's. It's just that during my master's at UCL, I could also because when I joined UCL, I was in discussion also with colleagues at Oxford, and so actually what I was able to do is I was able to finish part of my credits from my codes master's at Oxford in the lab that I was originally meaning to join. So that's basically I did the master's at UCL, but then also some of my credits, including my master's thesis, I completed at Oxford University.
And you only came to this master's degrees with background in business, or how did you, what was your motivation?
That's the fun thing, right? Like if you look where I work today, it's like usually people think I have a business background, but I've absolutely I was really like during my studies, I was only caring about psychology and neuroscience, genetics, understanding human decision making, cognition in general, consciousness. So I was really more of a philosopher that was looking into psychology to learn about the human mind. So I didn't really have that much business interests until I graduated.
And so what was the motivation then to switch from your university studies to a new company rather than going back to sales operations?
Yeah, so I was actually really interested in becoming a professor first, but then for me, I suddenly realized academia was not fast-paced enough. I really liked the fast pace of working. And so then actually what I did is after a master's, I think that was one of the most important things in my career. I actually didn't go for the big brands and the very famous companies, but I was looking around Europe for a smaller company where I would be able to take on a high responsibility. And so I interviewed for a consulting company, a smaller one, but which is very technologically advanced. It's called To Be Ahead. It's a quite funny name because they're trying to advise companies on how to be ahead, in terms of culture and technologies. And I was convincing the interviewers that given my psychological background, given my knowledge, I'm very good at talking to people, right? So I was really convincing them and leveraging the psychological and decision-making aspect, selling to them how this will really help me in, doing sales and consulting. And I think that was really important in my career, because after that consulting job where I was a project leader from a very young age on, I then got approached by Amazon, hired into Amazon, worked in Amazon on like very big European projects. I restructured some processes across Europe for Amazon, was in Seattle briefly for it. And then in the beginning of 2020, I switched to Google in a senior key account manager role, where I was building on my tech experience from Amazon, but also building once more on my psychological expertise that I gained through UCL, Oxford, but also my bachelor degrees. And so kind of like my current role is as a senior key account manager, I'm doing the partnerships for Google in Switzerland, like investment partnerships. And so basically my whole job is data analysis, but then also consulting people, managing expectations, managing failure. And, I think a lot of these skills is really where I can draw from the experience I gained from my education. And so my job right now is basically just a combination of tech and people. And honestly, I'm very happy in it. Like I can feel that both my tech nerdiness, but also my people love are satisfied with it.
Great. So you talk about technology, and data analysis. So did you acquire your data analysis skills through your master's degree, or did you then take on additional training?
Well, I mean, we in the codes degree you have both like statistics and Python coding, so I found both were really helpful for my later life. I did still take like some more advanced like Code Academy classes where I just taught myself better coding. But yeah, I think it is a very good foundation. So I really think that it's good that this degree also covers these methodological aspects, because to some degree, and that's actually kind of like sad, but out there in the business world, your methodological subjects almost matter more than your content subjects. So it actually, I think, very often matters more that you, at least if you go to tech, it matters more that you're kind of good in data analysis and logical thinking. It kind of matters more than, let's say what grade you had in your decision-making class. I still think that there is value for it, if you kind of have some frameworks, how people interact, or if you understand where emotions come from, if you understand how group dynamics work, I think these can really help in your job. But at the end of the day, I think these methodological subjects are also very helpful.
Could you maybe describe a specific project in more detail to give us a flavor, give the audience a flavor of what your daily work focuses on?
Yeah. So basically my daily work is like, I get up in the morning, I prepare, a slide deck, I pull some data from our database, I prepare insights for our clients, where I see growth opportunities for them, let's say a new market where they could go into, let's say a new investment focus in our marketing solution at Google or in a cloud solution. And then I prepare a slide deck, very few slides, and I go in and I do storytelling. So I tell a story, an honest story, why my recommendations are the right choice for my clients. And I think that has a lot to do with like honesty, with integrity, but then also with knowing that the analysis you make, they are the right ones, like knowing that you didn't analyze like, you didn't make mistakes in that. But then also I think a lot of people management. So for the analysis, I also have sometimes people I work with, who create the slides for me, who create the analysis. But what really is the unique value that I add is, going in and de-escalating situations where a client is unhappy, for example, or really gaining their trust to, double their investment with Google, things like that. I think that's really where the unique value comes from. Because at the end of the day, if it's just like, if you're just trying to work with your clients a bit and everything is going well, that's not hard. But I think where things get really tricky is when either clients are really unhappy with a certain setup, or where you try to convince them to double or triple their investment. And I think that is where you have conversations where every single word really counts that you say. And I think this is really something that where you can build on your education, where you can really think about the models and frameworks that have been well tested in psychological science, how people react, big five, the personality models. I think those are really helpful in my private life. I think knowing about cognitive biases is very helpful for me. And knowing how emotions, function, and then understanding that if someone is angry, it doesn't really have to do with you. It can just be the situation, and, not getting emotional yourself, but staying objective. I think these are really like the bridges that you can take. Having said that, I think what universities sometimes fail to do a little bit is to really teach you how to apply these skills in your daily work. Like they kind of don't teach you like exactly how to take away the skills. So I think what you really need to do, and I really suggest this to everyone on this call, is once you have a job or once you apply for a role, like go for your material again, go for your bachelor and for your master's materials, you know, go for it and take out 5 frameworks or 5 base principles that you think are relevant, and then start using those, you know. Just take like 5 basic principles from your studies that you think are relevant for human behavior and interaction, and really keep those in mind during your work. And I guarantee you, like, it's gonna make a difference. It would be pretty sad if we study this for 5 years and then it wouldn't work in real life. So it does work, but I think we always need to remind ourselves that just because we are good at psychological science, we're not automatically good at dealing with people, because we're still humans. We still get emotional, you know, we still fall into the pitfalls that come with like human interaction. But I think by really thinking about some principles from your studies, be it like personality models or bias models, whatever, I think remembering yourself of those can really, really make a difference when you have client interactions, for example.
Yeah, wonderful. That brings me actually to this question of, for people who now might be very excited and see, I want to do something similar, what's the first step to do in order to gain internships or some kind of experience in working in those type of job that you're doing?
So I never in my life, I never had an internship. That's fun fact. Like I directly jumped into like full-time employments. I think how I did that is exactly what I said before. For my first roles after graduation, I didn't look for the big brands and doing a junior job there, but I was looking for a smaller company where I can have an impact. And then with that impact, I went, you know, to the big companies like Amazon and Google, and they really liked what I had to offer in terms of experience. So I think that's one advice I would have. Like, don't just jump on the big brands in the beginning. Like, first, you know, go for learning. Like, really choose the opportunities where you can learn a lot. I mean, if you want to go for a big brand or a consulting company and you think you can really learn a lot of skills there, then do that. But don't feel this pressure of going to a big brand just, you know, to show off to your friends, because kind of like life is and the career is a long run game. And, you know, it doesn't really matter if you join the big companies, like, you know, in the beginning or later down the line, if that's something that you would like to do. I think the most important is that you really build a skill set that's unique and a skill set that tells a story. And I think that's actually, and I mean this generally, like my psychology background, including the Codes Masters, it has really helped me a lot, because now I'm in a field where everyone has like a business degree or like a tech background. Yeah, you know, and like if I go into Google, but no one there has a psychology degree, you know, like, and that's really a unique thing, like, because I have the business experience, I have the tech experience now, but then also on top I can offer the psychology background. And I think that actually has helped me a lot in my life. So my concrete recommendation would be, don't go for the big brands, like invest in skill development first. And the second one is, like, understand your mid-game plan. So understand maybe which of the big companies, if you want to go this path like I did, which ones you want to go for. Because the thing is, what I also did a mistake is, for example, they're not all offering the same type of jobs. For example, Google is very big in like when it comes to like ad sales and marketing, right? Whereas in Amazon, you don't really have that much outside of AWS. You really, in Amazon, you need more like program management and, you know, change management skills. Whereas maybe in Apple, you know, it's again like different skill set that you would require. So don't just think about, and I mean, that's just the tech companies, right? There's also Disney. In Disney, you maybe need a more, you know, entrepreneurial and creative background to get in, right? Or if you think about any big company, like, I would really suggest that you kind of have a sample of companies you would like to work for in 5 years, and then really think about like what kind of skills does someone need who's going there, you know. And please maybe just on LinkedIn reach out to some people who work at this company and have a chat with them, like what skills are needed, and then, you know, start building those skills. But I think also, and then I'll hand back to you, Eva, again. Like, I think one mistake I really made in my career, or mistake, it didn't turn out bad, but and this is, I think, one of the most important advices I can share. I very often in the beginning, try to go for things that I wanted to be rather than what I'm good at. So what that means is, I had this Hollywood movie in my mind, you know, where I'm like the coder guy, you know, or where I'm like the data analyst guy. You know, I saw this picture of myself, you know, the smart guy who's cracking codes and, you know, doing stuff like that. And I wanted to be this picture, and therefore I, you know, took like coding classes and boot camps and stuff. But actually, at the end of the day, what I really realized, and then I actually applied for Google in like a data science role and didn't get in, right, at first. And then I went to Amazon. But then actually what happened is when I applied to Google again, I was like, Benjamin, stop lying to yourself. You're not the coding guy. Like, what are you actually good at? And that's when I remembered my education and how much I like people. I don't like data per se. I like working with data because it helps me have an impact for people. And when I really realized that the number one thing I really enjoy is working with people and, building partnerships and trust, I applied for this one role in Google and instantly got in, like directly, like without any hurdles. And I think that was a key moment in my life when I realized that I should follow what I'm actually good at rather than what I think I want to be in a Hollywood movie. I think that was really important for me.